My grandson's hand connected with my face during a math quiz I was running in the schoolyard. Not hard, just enough to make the other kids laugh. A quick pat that stung more from the disrespect than the force. "He's just playing," Danilo said, grinning like this was all some adorable family moment. My son stood there with his hands in his pockets, completely unbothered by the fact that his 8-year-old had just struck his grandfather in front of 30 students. Alina, my daughter-in-law, leaned against the fence with her phone out, probably recording for her social media. "Come on, hit him back if you dare." Her voice carried across the yard. Several parents turned to look. She smiled wider, enjoying the attention. I didn't hit back. I didn't raise my voice. I smiled at my grandson, patted his shoulder, and told him to finish his worksheet. Then I collected the quizzes, walked the kids inside to their next class, and returned to my office like nothing had happened. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea and my laptop. I logged into the school's parent portal and navigated to the billing section. My grandson attended a private academy. Expensive, exclusive, the kind of place where connections mattered more than grades. Danilo had begged me to cover the tuition when he enrolled him 2 years ago. Said it was temporary, said he'd pay me back once his startup stabilized. I clicked on the auto payment settings and selected cancel. The system asked me to confirm. I confirmed. An automated email arrived at 11:47 p.m., thanking me for my years of patronage and confirming the cancellation effective immediately. I finished my tea and went to bed. I slept perfectly. The next morning, Principal Ihor Klemenko called them at 8:15 a.m. I know the exact time because I was still listed as the primary account holder and emergency contact. The system CC'd me on every notice. The email subject line read, "Urgent, tuition payment failure." My phone buzzed twice with incoming calls from Danilo. I was in the middle of my first period algebra class. I let it go to voicemail, then it buzzed again. And again. By 9 a.m., I had 7 missed calls and 3 text messages. During my planning period, I listened to the first voicemail. Danilo's voice was high and tight. "Dad, what the hell? The school just called. They're saying the payment didn't go through. Call me back immediately." I deleted it and listened to the second one. Alina this time. "We need to talk. This is unacceptable. You can't just cancel things without telling us." I deleted that one too. The third message was Danilo again, quieter now, almost pleading. "Dad, please, just call me back. We can fix this." I didn't call back. Instead, I opened my browser and logged into the family phone plan account. I'd set it up 7 years ago when my wife got sick. She wanted to make sure all our photos and messages were backed up automatically. After she died, I kept paying for it. Muscle memory. Grief routine. A way to feel like I was still taking care of her somehow. Danilo and Alina were still on the plan. So was Katya, my daughter. I was the account owner, which meant I had legal access to everything, every message, every photo, every app backup, every calendar entry. All of it synced to the cloud, all of it visible to me through the carrier's web portal. I'd never looked before. It felt invasive, wrong. But sitting there in my empty classroom with 7 missed calls burning a hole in my phone, I decided wrong was relative. I typed Alina's number into the search bar and hit enter. The results loaded slowly. Messages. Thousands of them. I filtered by the last month and started scrolling. It didn't take long to find what I needed. A group chat. Alina and 3 of her friends. The messages were recent, from yesterday afternoon, right after the schoolyard incident. "Sasha's being so difficult lately," Alina had written. "We need the apartment. The market's insane, but he won't even discuss it." One of her friends responded, "Can't you just wait until he dies?" Alina's reply came fast. "We're not waiting. The wedding's in 2 weeks. We're asking for the keys publicly. If he refuses, I'm making a scene. Let everyone see how selfish he is." Another friend. "That's brutal. I love it." Alina. "He deserves it. He cancelled my son's tuition this morning without even telling us. Petty old man. I sat there staring at the screen. The fluorescent lights hummed above me. In the hallway outside, students laughed and slammed lockers. Everything felt distant and muffled. I took screenshots of every message, saved them to a folder on my desktop, backed them up to 3 different locations. Then I kept scrolling. There were calendar entries too. I switched to Danilo's account and pulled up his schedule. Most of it was normal. Meetings, gym sessions, lunch appointments. But one entry stood out. 2 weeks from now. Wedding day, 6 p.m. The note section read, "Wedding keys, ask on stage, public pressure. If he refuses, Alina goes nuclear." Nuclear. Interesting word choice. I screenshotted that too. Then I went back further. Weeks, months, looking for patterns, and I found them. Dozens of entries related to my apartment. Check Dad's place for paperwork. Storage unit key copy. Deed location. They'd been planning this for months. The wedding was just the stage. The keys were just the opening move. They wanted the apartment. They wanted me out. They wanted control. I closed the laptop and looked at the clock. 3rd period would start in 5 minutes. I had a class of 9th graders waiting to learn about quadratic equations. I gathered my materials, walked to the classroom, and taught like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I just hadn't decided what to do about it yet. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. After school, I stayed late to run a makeup quiz for a student who'd been sick. His name was Mykilo, a quiet kid with good instincts for math, but terrible test anxiety. We worked through problems together at a pace that kept him calm. By the time we finished, the sun was setting and the building was nearly empty. I walked him out to the tram stop 2 blocks away. It was drizzling, that fine mist that soaks through everything without feeling like real rain. Mykilo huddled under the shelter and checked his phone. Then his face went pale. "Someone took my friend's phone," he said, "like 20 minutes ago, at the park." "Did your friend call the police?" "He's calling them now, but the guy's probably long gone." I looked toward the park. It was visible from where we stood, just across the street. A small green space with benches and a playground. I could see a cluster of teenagers gathered near the swings. "Wait here," I said. "Keep an eye on your tram." I jogged across the street and into the park. The drizzle was getting heavier. My shirt was sticking to my shoulders. The teenagers saw me coming and scattered, except for one. A boy, maybe 16, wearing a black hoodie and holding a phone he was trying to shove into his pocket. "That's not yours," I said. He looked at me. Calculated. I was older, but I wasn't huge. He could probably outrun me. "I found it," he said. "Then you can return it." "I don't think so." He turned to run. I lunged and grabbed the back of his hoodie. He tried to twist away, but I held on. We stumbled together, awkward and graceless, until he tripped over a bench leg and went down hard. The phone skittered across the wet pavement. I picked it up. Checked the screen, locked, but undamaged. The kid scrambled to his feet. "That's assault. That's recovery of stolen property. Leave before I call the police." He swore at me and took off running. I stood there breathing hard, rain dripping down my face, holding someone else's phone. I walked back to the tram stop. Mykilo was still there, eyes wide. "Did you get it?" "I got it. Tell your friend to meet us at the coffee shop on the corner." We waited inside the coffee shop, dripping on the tile floor. The owner gave us towels. Mykailo's friend arrived 10 minutes later, a kid named Andrew, short and freckled. He was so grateful, he nearly cried. I made him unlock the phone to verify it was his, then handed it over. "Check if anything's missing," I said. "Photos, apps, whatever." Andrew scrolled through screens, tapping and swiping. "Everything's here. Wait, There's some weird stuff in my gallery. Photos I didn't take. He turned the screen toward me. I leaned closer. The photo showed a ledger. Handwritten. Columns of numbers marching down the page in neat rows. Names on the left, amounts on the right. At the top, a header. Donor reimbursements. The ledger was sitting on a table. Blonde wood, a distinctive water ring near the right edge where someone had set a sweating glass years ago, and I'd never been able to fully remove the mark. My table, my apartment. "Can you send me that photo?" I asked. "Sure. What's your number?" I gave it to him. A moment later, my phone buzzed. I looked at the timestamp on the image. 2 weeks old. The photo had been sitting in this kid's gallery for 2 weeks, forwarded through some chain of group chats and memes until it ended up here. I zoomed in on the ledger. The handwriting was Danilo's. I recognized the slant of his letters, the way he looped his Y's. The amounts were significant. 3,000 here, 5,000 there, 5,800, 7,200. At the bottom of the visible page, a note. Transfer to events account, wedding catering. I thanked Andrii and Mikhailo and left the coffee shop, walked home in the rain. By the time I reached my apartment building, I was soaked through and shivering. I went upstairs, changed into dry clothes, and sat down at my kitchen table with my laptop. I opened the family cloud backup again. This time, I went straight to Danilo's photo gallery. Filtered by date, started scrolling backward. The ledger appeared 6 times over 3 months. Always the same table. Always in my apartment. The photos were taken at different times of day. Morning light in one, evening shadows in another. Someone had been coming to my apartment regularly, with a key I hadn't given them. Taking photos of documents I didn't know existed, I saved every image, examined them one by one. The ledger tracked withdrawals from my late wife's charitable fund. She'd established it 5 years before she died. A small foundation to help palliative care patients with expenses their insurance wouldn't cover. Medication, transportation, home care equipment. She'd worked with her doctor, Yuri Hrabovich, to identify patients who needed help. When she died, she'd left the fund in Danilo's hands, asked him to continue her work, to honor her memory by helping others. Looking at these photos, at these numbers, I felt something cold settle in my chest. The fund was supposed to have 40,000 in it. The last statement I'd seen, 6 months ago, showed exactly that. But these ledger entries added up to more than 30,000 in withdrawals, and none of them were going to patients. Wedding catering, honeymoon flights, furniture deposit, venue final payment. I sat back in my chair. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the rain pattering against the windows. My tea had gone cold. I didn't care. I was too busy calculating. Variables, outcomes, probabilities. My son was a thief. My daughter-in-law was an accomplice. And they thought I was too old and too soft to do anything about it. They were wrong about the soft part. The old part was negotiable. I opened a new document and started making lists. Evidence I had. Evidence I needed. People I could trust. People I couldn't. Timelines. Locations. Weak points in their plan. I worked until 3 a.m. When I finally went to bed, I had 17 pages of notes and a strategy that would either fix everything or destroy what was left of my family. I decided I could live with either outcome. They came to my apartment 3 days later. No warning, no phone call. Just pounding on the door at 7 p.m. while I was making dinner. I looked through the peephole. Danilo and Alina stood in the hallway, both dressed well. Danilo in a button-down shirt and slacks. Alina in a dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. They looked like they were going somewhere important, or like they wanted me to think they were. I didn't open the door immediately. Instead, I walked to my bedroom and made a quick phone call. Bodan, the building superintendent, answered on the second ring. "Can you come up to my apartment?" I asked. "I need a witness." "For what?" A conversation with my son. Bohdan had been the super for 15 years. He'd known my wife, had attended her funeral. He understood family complications. "Give me 2 minutes," he said. I went back to the front door and waited. The knocking continued. Then Alina's voice, sharp through the wood. "We know you're in there. Open the door." Bohdan arrived, climbing the stairs with his toolbox. He was 68, broad-shouldered, with hands like catcher's mitts. He nodded at me, and I opened the door. Danilo's fist was raised to knock again. He froze mid-motion. "We need to talk," he said. "Then talk. Inside. Here is fine." Alina's eyes flicked to Bohdan. "This is family business. Private." "Bohdan's practically family," I said. "He's been here longer than you've been alive. We don't need an audience." "I do." Danilo stepped forward, trying to see past me into the apartment. I shifted slightly, blocking his view. He stopped. "We need the keys," he said. "To the apartment." "No." "Dad, be reasonable. We're trying to help you. The place is getting cluttered. You're not taking care of things the way you should. I'm taking care of things fine. You're 56. You're not getting any younger. Let us help organize, make sure everything's in order." "For what?" "For the future. For when you—" He stopped himself. "For when I what? Die? Is that what you're waiting for?" Alina cut in, her voice saccharine. "No one's waiting for anything. We just want to make sure you're okay, that the apartment is secure, that important documents are properly stored." "What documents?" "The deed, insurance papers, your will, things that matter. Those things are stored properly, in places you don't need to access." Danilo's jaw tightened. "We're family. We should have access in case of emergency." "If there's an emergency, the hospital has my information. So does my lawyer. You'll be contacted if necessary." "That's not good enough." "It's going to have to be." Alina's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her expression changed. Harder, more calculating. She looked at Danilo, and something passed between them. An understanding. A signal. "You're being selfish," she said to me. "We're trying to plan ahead. The wedding's in less than 2 weeks. We'll have family visiting from out of town. We need space. Your apartment is bigger than ours. It makes sense for you to loan us the keys temporarily. For guest accommodations. Rent a hotel. Hotels are expensive. So is my peace of mind." "What's that supposed to mean?" I smiled. Didn't answer. Danilo stepped closer. His voice dropped. "The donor's money could cover—" He stopped. Too late. The words were already out. I kept smiling. "The donor's money. Interesting phrase. Which donors?" "Forget it." "No, please, continue. You were saying something about donor's money. Were you referring to your mother's charitable fund, the one you're supposed to be managing in her memory?" His face flushed. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do." Alina grabbed his arm. "Let's go. He's obviously not in the mood to help his own family." They turned to leave. Then Alina looked back over her shoulder. "You're going to regret this. At the wedding. In front of everyone. They'll all see how petty you are." "I'm looking forward to it," I said. They left. Bohdan watched them disappear down the stairs, then turned to me. "Want me to change the locks?" "Not yet. I want to see what they do next." "You're playing with fire." "Fire's predictable. It follows rules, chemistry, oxygen, heat. You can calculate it." "People aren't chemistry." "Sure they are. Variables and reactions, catalysts and products. You just have to know the formula." Bohdan shook his head. "You've been teaching too long. You think everything's a math problem." "Everything is a math problem. Some equations just take longer to solve." He left. I locked the door behind him and went back to my kitchen. My dinner was cold. I didn't bother reheating it. I sat down at the table with my laptop and opened the cloud backup again. Time to see what Alina had been planning on her phone while she stood in my hallway. The cloud backup was more detailed than I'd expected, not just messages and photos. browsing history, app data, location tracking, email syncs, calendar entries, even deleted items cached and stored for 30 days before permanent removal. I started with Alina's deleted messages. Most were mundane: confirmations with vendors, complaints about bridesmaids, arguments with Katya about dress colors. But buried in the middle, I found a thread with someone named Elena, Alina's cousin. The conversation was 2 days old. "Need you to do something at the wedding," Alina had written. "What?" Elena replied. "Gift table, second half of reception. Be subtle." "Are you serious?" "We're short on cash. Venue's threatening to cancel. If we don't have the full payment by Monday, we're screwed." "You want me to steal from your own wedding guests?" "I want you to borrow. We'll pay it back later." "That's insane." "That's survival. You in or not?" There was a long pause in the message thread. Then, "Fine, but you owe me." "I'll owe you a lot of things. Add it to the list." I screenshotted the entire conversation, saved it, kept digging. Danilo's email was synced to the cloud. I filtered by sender and found dozens of messages from a domain I didn't recognize. Moroz, asignaeprivateemail.com. My father-in-law's name was Ihor Moroz. He died 3 years ago. Heart attack. Quick. We'd buried him next to my wife in the cemetery on the south side of the city. Someone was using his name to send emails. I opened the first one. It was addressed to Principal Klemenko at the school. The subject line read, "Donation approval." The body was brief. "Ihor, please approve the attached reimbursement request. School event expenses. Speakers and equipment as discussed. Wire transfer details below. Thank you for your continued partnership. Moroz Sr." I checked the date. 4 months ago. I opened the attachment. An invoice for $7,200, labeled Educational Materials and Guest Speaker Fees. The payment was to be wired to an account I didn't recognize. I opened another email. Same sender. Different recipient this time. A woman named Svetlana who ran a catering company. The message requested payment approval for charitable event services. The amount, $5,400. I checked the charitable fund's bank statements, which I still had access to as the original co-founder with my wife. The withdrawals matched: $7,200 to Educational Services LLC, $5,400 to Event Catering Group. Both legitimate sounding, both complete fabrications. I ran a Hoy's search on the email domain, public information, anyone could look it up. The registration was recent, 6 weeks old. The registrant name, Alina Moroz, used it to authorize fund withdrawals, disguised theft as charitable expenses. I sat back and rubbed my eyes. The apartment was dark now. I hadn't turned on any lights. Just the glow of the laptop screen illuminating my face. My son was stealing. My daughter-in-law was orchestrating it. My daughter knew and said nothing, and they were all planning to humiliate me publicly at the wedding in less than 2 weeks. I could go to the police, present the evidence, let them handle it, but that would mean arrests, criminal charges, prison time maybe. My grandchildren would grow up visiting their parents behind glass partitions, or I could handle it myself. Quietly, precisely, a controlled detonation instead of a wild explosion. I opened a new browser tab and searched for event videographers Kiev, found a dozen names, clicked through portfolios until I found one I recognized. Nazar, former student, graduated 5 years ago. I'd tutored him through calculus when he was failing, helped him get into university. He'd dropped out after a year to pursue photography full-time. Last I heard, he was doing well. Weddings mostly, corporate events. I found his contact form and sent a message. "Nazar, this is Alexander Moroz, your old math teacher. I need your help with a project. Call me." I included my number and hit send. Then I made myself a fresh cup of tea and waited. He called 20 minutes later. "Mr. Moroz?" Nazar's voice was cautious. Is this really about a project, or is this one of those scam emails that hacked your account? It's really me, and it's really a project. Okay, what kind of project? I need you to film my son's wedding. Pause. Aren't you supposed to book that stuff months in advance? This is a special circumstance. How special? The kind where I pay double your rate and you don't ask too many questions until after it's done. Longer pause. I could hear him breathing, thinking. You're serious? Completely. What's the catch? No catch. I need professional quality video documentation of an event. Multiple angles, good audio, unobtrusive setup. You film everything. I pay you. Simple transaction. Why do I feel like this isn't simple at all? Because you're smart. Can we meet? I'd rather explain in person. We agreed on a coffee shop near the university. Neutral ground. Public enough to be safe, quiet enough to talk. I arrived first and claimed a corner table. Ordered tea. Waited. Nazar showed up 15 minutes later. He'd changed since I'd last seen him. Taller, beard, confidence he hadn't had as a teenager. He spotted me and waved. Mr. Moroz, you look exactly the same. You look like an adult. It's disorienting. He laughed and sat down, ordered coffee, studied me across the table. So, he said, tell me about this wedding. I told him. Not everything, just the framework. My son was getting married. There would be a public moment, a request, a refusal, possibly a scene. I needed it documented, all of it, every angle, every word. You're expecting a fight, Nazar said. I'm expecting theatre. And you want proof. I want truth. There's a difference. He leaned back in his chair. You know I shoot weddings all the time. Happy couples, crying parents, drunk uncles dancing badly. It's usually pretty wholesome. This won't be wholesome. Yeah, I'm getting that impression. What's really going on? I considered how much to tell him. Decided on honesty. Partial honesty, anyway. My son and his fiancée are planning to humiliate me publicly at their wedding. They're going to demand something I won't give them. When I refuse, they're going to cause a scene. Make me look like the villain. I need documentation to show what really happened. Why not just skip the wedding? Because I want them to go through with it. I want them to commit fully. No backing out. No second thoughts. That's cold. That's math. You set up the equation correctly. The answer solves itself. Nazar sipped his coffee. You always talk like that. Made everything sound like a formula. Everything is a formula. People just don't like admitting it. Okay, say I do this. What exactly do you need? 3 cameras minimum. 1 wide angle on the ceremony. 1 focused on the head table during the reception. 1 roaming for details and reactions. High-quality audio recording, wireless backup, and 1 hidden camera, small, unobtrusive, positioned where you can capture the head table without anyone noticing. Hidden cameras are ethically grey. Everything's ethically grey if you squint. Are you in or not? He thought about it. I could see him calculating. Risk versus reward. Curiosity versus caution. Double my normal rate? He asked. Double. Plus expenses, equipment rental. Assistant if I need one. Done. And you're sure this is legal? I'm not going to end up as an accessory to something. Completely legal. I'm documenting my own family event. There's nothing criminal about that. Just morally questionable. Morality's subjective. Videography isn't. Are we doing this? He extended his hand. We're doing this. But if this turns into some weird revenge plot, I'm keeping the footage as insurance. Fair enough. We shook. I felt something settle in my chest. Relief, maybe. Or just the satisfaction of another variable falling into place. We spent the next hour going over logistics, camera positions, timing, backup plans. Nazar took notes on his tablet, occasionally asking questions about the venue layout, guest count, lighting conditions. He was thorough, professional, Exactly what I needed. When we finished, he looked at me across the table. "Can I ask you something personal?" "You can ask." "Why are you doing this? Why not just cut them off, change your will, walk away?" "Because walking away doesn't solve the problem. It just postpones it. They'll keep stealing, keep lying, keep using my wife's memory as cover for their greed. Someone has to stop them. And that someone is you. I'm the only one left who cares enough to try." He nodded slowly. "Your wife, she died a few years ago, right? Cancer?" "Pancreatic. 14 months from diagnosis to funeral." "I'm sorry." "So am I, but sorry doesn't rebuild what's been broken. Action does." "That's very—" He searched for a word. "Ruthless." "That's very accurate." We left the coffee shop. Nazar promised to have equipment ready by the wedding. I promised to provide venue access and a detailed schedule. We shook hands again on the sidewalk and went our separate ways. I walked home slowly. The evening was cool, clear, the kind of night my wife used to love. We'd walk together after dinner sometimes. No destination, just movement, conversation, her hand in mine. I missed her steadiness, her kindness, the way she could diffuse any argument with a joke or a well-timed observation. She would hate what I was planning. She'd tell me to forgive, to let go, to choose peace over justice. So forgiveness could wait. Justice couldn't. I got home and found an envelope taped to my door. No return address, just my name in Alina's handwriting. Inside, a wedding invitation, formal, embossed, expensive, and a handwritten note. "We'd like you to sit at the head table. Family should be together. Please don't embarrass us." I read it twice. Then I placed it on my kitchen table next to my laptop and took a photo of it. Evidence, variables, outcomes. The equation was coming together. The venue was a renovated factory turned event space, high ceilings, exposed brick, industrial chandeliers trying to look artistic. The kind of place that charged extra for the aesthetic. I arrived exactly on time, wore my best suit, navy blue, the one my wife had helped me pick out for Katya's university graduation. It still fit, mostly. A little snug in the shoulders. I'd gained weight after my wife died. Comfort eating, grief eating. I'd started losing it again in the last few months. Stress was an effective diet. Oksana met me at the entrance. She taught physics at my school. Sharp mind, sharper tongue. She'd known my wife, had attended the funeral, had checked on me regularly in the months after. Not out of pity, out of practical concern. Making sure I ate, making sure I slept, making sure I didn't completely disappear into grief. "You clean up well," she said, adjusting my tie. "Ready for war? Ready for documentation?" Same thing in your case. We entered together. The ceremony space was decorated in white and gold, flowers everywhere. Too many flowers. The smell was overwhelming. Roses, lilies, something else I couldn't identify. My wife had hated over-decorated spaces, said they made her claustrophobic. I wondered if Danilo remembered that. Probably not. Nazar was already there. I spotted him near the back, adjusting a camera on a tripod. He saw me and nodded slightly. Professional distance. We'd agreed not to acknowledge each other publicly. I found my assigned seat. Front row, right side, reserved family section. Alina's parents sat across the aisle. Her mother smiled at me. Polite, strained. I smiled back. Same energy. The ceremony started 10 minutes late. Music, procession, bridesmaids in matching dresses. Katya among them, looking uncomfortable in pale yellow. She didn't meet my eyes as she walked past. Then Alina appeared. White dress, long train, veil. She looked beautiful, legitimately beautiful. For a moment, I felt something like sadness. This should be a happy day. A beginning. Instead, it was a stage for something uglier. Danilo stood at the altar, nervous, excited. He saw me in the front row and his expression flickered. Uncertainty, then determination. The ceremony was standard, readings, vows, rings. The officiant spoke about love and commitment and partnership. I wondered if he knew he was officiating a fraud. They kissed. Everyone applauded. I clapped politely. Oksana squeezed my arm. "Holding up," she whispered. "Fine. Liar." We moved to the reception hall. More flowers, more white and gold, round tables with elaborate centerpieces, a head table on a low stage, microphones, a projector screen behind the table for photo slide shows. I was assigned to the head table. Me, Alina's parents, Danilo's best man, the maid of honor, and the happy couple at the center. I sat in my designated chair. Alina's father tried to make small talk, asked about school, about my teaching. I answered in monosyllables. He gave up after 3 minutes. Dinner was served. I barely tasted it. Chicken, some kind of sauce, vegetables cut into decorative shapes. I ate mechanically, watched. Nazar had positioned his roaming camera near the bar. The hidden camera was in a centerpiece arrangement on a side table. Angle looked good. Audio would be tricky, but he'd assured me he had backup microphones placed strategically. The speeches started after dinner. Alina's father went first, talked about his daughter, her ambition, her drive, her success in her PR career. He was proud. It showed. Danilo's best man went next, told embarrassing stories, college parties, bad decisions. Everyone laughed. I smiled, hollow. Then Alina stood up, tapped her microphone. The room quieted. "I want to thank everyone for being here," she said. Her voice was smooth, practiced. She'd rehearsed this. "Family is everything to us. We wouldn't be here without your love and support." Pause. Let the sentiment land. "Which is why I'd like to invite someone special to join me up here. My father-in-law, Sasha. Come on up." The room applauded. Polite, encouraging. I didn't move. "Sasha," she said again, louder, smile widening. "Don't be shy. Come say a few words." I looked at Oksana. She nodded slightly. I stood and walked to the stage. Alina handed me the microphone. Her smile was porcelain. Perfect. False. "We have a small tradition we'd like to start," she said. "A symbolic gesture. We'd love for you to give us your blessing and your apartment keys, to pass the torch, show that you trust us to carry on the family legacy." The room was silent, 100 people watching, waiting. I looked at Danilo. He was smiling too, confident. He thought this was going to work. I spoke into the microphone. "No." Alina's smile faltered. "I'm sorry." I said no. "This is our wedding day. Surely you can—" "No." Her mask cracked. "You're being unreasonable." "I'm being honest. Just give us the keys. It's symbolic. It means something. It means everything. That's why the answer is no." She stepped closer, lowered her voice, but the microphone still caught it. "Don't do this. Not here. Not now." "You chose here and now. I'm just responding." Her hand came up fast, open palm. The slap echoed through the hall. Pain exploded across my face, sharp, hot. I stood there, didn't move, didn't touch my cheek. The room gasped. Someone dropped a glass. It shattered. I pulled out my phone, dialed. One ring. "Now," I said quietly into the phone. Then I stepped off the stage and walked back to my seat. The double doors at the back of the hall opened. Everyone turned. Whispers rippled through the crowd. A man entered. Early 60s. Grey beard trimmed neatly. Dark suit. He carried a small leather medical bag. Old-fashioned. The kind doctors used to make house calls with decades ago. He walked down the center aisle slowly, deliberately. Several guests recognized him immediately. "That's Dr. Hrabovich," someone whispered. "The palliative care doctor. The one who took care of Lena." More whispers. Louder now. My wife's name passing through the crowd like a wave. Yuri Hrabovich reached the head table. He looked at Danilo, at Alina, at Katya, who had gone completely pale. "I'm sorry to intrude," he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried. "Your father asked me to come." Danilo stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. "What are you doing here?" "Delivering something your mother wanted you to have." "What are you talking about?" Yuri opened the leather bag, pulled out a small digital voice recorder. He held it up so everyone could see. "Before your mother died, she asked me to keep this safe. She recorded a message for her children. She told me to hold it until your father decided the time was right." Katya stood up from the bridesmaid's table. "You've had this the whole time? For 3 years?" "Yes." "Why didn't you give it to us?" "Because she asked me not to. Not until Sasha gave me permission." The room was completely silent, 100 people holding their breath. Yuri looked at me. I nodded. He pressed play. My wife's voice filled the hall, thin, tired from illness, but unmistakably hers. "My darlings, if you're hearing this, something has gone wrong. I'm sorry I'm not there to fix it, but I need you to understand something." Pause. The sound of her breathing. Labored. Painful. "Your father is a good man. The apartment is his home, his sanctuary. It holds his memories, his life. It was never meant to be a prize, never meant to be fought over. If you're asking him for it, if you're pressuring him, please stop. Just stop." Another pause. Longer. "Love him, support him, let him live his life in peace. That's all I want. That's all I've ever wanted. Promise me you'll take care of him. Not his things, him." The recording ended. Silence. Then someone started crying. A woman near the front, then another, then half the room. Tears, open sobbing. My wife had been loved, genuinely loved. People remembered her kindness, her warmth. Hearing her voice again broke something in them. Yuri looked at Danilo. "She loved you, all of you, but she knew you'd need to hear this. She knew you'd need the reminder." He handed me the recorder. I held it carefully, like it might break. Yuri left the way he came, slow, dignified. The room watched him go. I stood up, took the microphone again. "Nazar," I said, "now." The projector screen behind the head table flickered to life. I spent the next 3 days fielding calls and messages, donors wanting details, reporters asking for comments, family members choosing sides. I ignored most of them, focused on work, taught my classes, graded papers, maintained routine. On the 4th day, Bodan knocked on my door. "Someone's been trying to access the storage cage again," he said. "The lock's been tampered with, scratches around the keyhole." "When?" "Last night. I found it this morning during rounds." "Did you see who?" "No, but the building cameras might have caught something." We went down to his office. He pulled up the security footage, grainy black and white. The timestamp showed 2:17 a.m. A figure appeared on screen, hoodie, face down. They approached the storage cage, tried several keys. None worked. After 5 minutes, they gave up and left. The camera at the entrance caught them leaving. Better angle. When they looked up at the street, the image cleared. Danilo. "Want me to call the police?" Bodan asked. "No, just change the lock. Make sure I'm the only one with a key." "Already done. New lock installed this morning." "Good." I went back upstairs, sat at my kitchen table. Thought about variables and outcomes. My son was desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. I just needed to be patient. Let him make the next move. Let him show his hand completely. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mr. Moroz?" A woman's voice, young, nervous. "Yes. This is Svetlana from Event Catering Group. You don't know me, but I received your email about the charitable fund situation." "Okay." I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't know the invoices were fraudulent. Your son told me everything was legitimate. Business expenses for school events. I thought I was working with the school directly. How much did he pay you? 5,400, over 3 invoices, all for catering services I actually provided. But they weren't for school events. They were for his engagement party, his bachelor party, a pre-wedding dinner. Do you have documentation? Everything, signed contracts, receipts, photos from the events. I can send them all to you. Please do, and send me your bank details. I'll make sure you're not penalized for their fraud. You don't have to. Yes, I do. You were a victim here, same as everyone else. She was crying now. Thank you, genuinely, thank you. She sent the files within an hour. I added them to my growing archive of evidence. The next call came from Principal Klemenko. Sasha, he said. He sounded exhausted. We need to talk. About what? About your son, about the school, about what happens next. Come by my apartment, tonight, 7 p.m. Is that wise? It's necessary. Be here or I go to the school board without your input. He agreed, hung up without saying goodbye. At 7 p.m. sharp, he knocked. I let him in, offered tea. He declined. We sat at the kitchen table. He looked older than I remembered. Greyer, thinner. How long did he pressure you? I asked. 6 months, since last fall. How did it start? He came to me with photos, from a bar. Downtown, I was there with a former student. She's 23 now, legal adult, but it looked bad, compromising. Was anything actually inappropriate happening? No, she's a friend. We were celebrating her job promotion. But the angle of the photos made it look like more, like something unethical. And he threatened to release them. Not directly, he just suggested it would be unfortunate if they became public. Then he asked me to sign off on some reimbursements. Small ones at first, a few hundred, education materials, guest speakers. It all seemed legitimate. But it escalated. Yes, the amounts got bigger. The invoices got vaguer. By the time I realized what was happening, I was too deep to pull out. He had me on the hook for fraud. So you kept signing. I kept signing. We sat in silence. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, someone's car alarm went off briefly, then stopped. I'm resigning, Ihor said, effective immediately. I've already drafted the letter. That's wise. Will you go to the police? Not about you. You were coerced. That's different than willing participation. He'll come after you, your son. When he realizes what you're doing, he'll get desperate. Let him. Desperate people make mistakes. He's your son. Not anymore. Ihor left. I locked the door behind him and went to my study. Pulled out the files I'd been building. Bank records, emails, screenshots, vendor statements, photos of the ledger, everything organized, dated, cross-referenced. I drafted a comprehensive report, 12 pages, every transaction documented, every lie exposed, every theft tracked. At the end, I added a list of next steps. 1. Full restitution to all donors. 2. Public apology from Danilo and Alina. 3. Resignation from any positions related to the charitable fund. 4. Permanent revocation of access to my apartment and property. 5. Amendment to my will removing them as beneficiaries. I printed 3 copies, sealed them in envelopes, addressed one to my lawyer, one to the charitable fund's board of directors, one to the school board. Tomorrow I'd mail them. Tonight I needed to sleep. But sleep didn't come. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about my wife, about the life we'd built, about the family we'd raised, about how quickly it had all fallen apart. My phone buzzed. A text from Katya. Dad, please, can we talk? Just us. No Danilo, no Alina, just you and me. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, tomorrow, coffee shop near the university, 10 a.m. I hit send and turned off my phone. My lawyer's office was downtown, 3rd floor of an old building, no elevator. I climbed the stairs slowly. Marina greeted me in her office. Mid-50s, sharp eyes. She'd handled my wife's estate, had done good work. "Sasha," she said, "I got your email. This is quite a situation. It's about to get worse. I need to update my will." "Okay, what changes?" I laid it out. Everything. The apartment, my savings, my pension, all of it redirected away from my children. New beneficiary, a scholarship fund, managed independently. Criteria, academic merit and financial need. Executors, Oksana and Dr. Yuri Hrabovich. Conditions for my children. 1 year of verified community service at a palliative care facility. Documented hours. Supervisor verification. Upon completion, they'd each receive 10,000. Nothing more. Marina listened without interrupting. Took notes. "This is harsh," she said when I finished. "This is proportional. They'll contest it. Let them. I'm of sound mind. I have documentation of their theft. The will is valid. What about your grandson, your grandchildren? Education trusts, managed independently. They get access at 18, for tuition and living expenses only. Nothing discretionary. You've thought this through?" "I've had 3 days to think about nothing else." She drafted the documents. We reviewed every clause, every condition, every contingency. I signed. She witnessed. Her assistant notarized. Done. "One more thing," I said. "I need this filed immediately. Not held in storage. Actually filed with the appropriate authorities." "That's unusual." "These are unusual circumstances." She agreed. Promised it would be done by end of day. I left her office and walked to the bank. Requested access to my safety deposit box. Inside, important documents. My wife's jewelry. Old photos. I added a copy of the new will, along with a USB drive containing all my evidence files. Then I went home and made dinner. Soup. Simple. My wife's recipe. I'd made it 100 times. It was automatic now. While the soup simmered, I received an email from the Charitable Fund's Board of Directors. They'd reviewed my report, called an emergency meeting, wanted me to present evidence. I agreed. Scheduled for next week. My phone rang. Danilo. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. 6 times in 20 minutes. I blocked his number. Then Alina called from a different number. "You can't do this," she said when I answered. "You're destroying our lives." "You destroyed your own lives. I'm just exposing it." "We'll sue you." "For what? Telling the truth?" "For defamation, for harassment, for elder abuse." "I'm documenting theft. That's not defamation. And I'm 56. I'm not an elder. Try again." "Danilo has rights. To the apartment. To the inheritance." "Danilo has nothing. I own the apartment. I control the inheritance. He has exactly what I choose to give him, which at this point is nothing." "You're a monster." "No. I'm a math teacher. I solve problems. You are the problem. I'm solving you." She hung up. I finished my soup, ate slowly, washed the dishes, went to bed. Tomorrow would bring new complications, new variables, but tonight I had clarity. The equation was nearly balanced. The parent-teacher forum was a quarterly event, usually boring. Attendance reports, curriculum updates, questions about homework policies. This time, I'd volunteered to give a presentation. The school board agreed. They wanted to address the Klemenko situation indirectly, without making it a scandal. I was the perfect person to do it. Math teacher, long tenure, no obvious agenda, except I had an agenda, a very specific one. I arrived early, set up my laptop, tested the projector. Everything worked perfectly. Parents filtered in, teachers, a few school board members, about 70 people total. Danilo arrived at 7:34 p.m. He was wearing a suit, trying to look professional, respectable, and on his left wrist, my late wife's bracelet, silver links, Small sapphire clasp, distinctive, unique. I'd been searching for that bracelet for 3 months, thought I'd misplaced it after her funeral, had torn apart drawers looking for it. He'd stolen it, from my apartment, from her jewelry box. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, something worse. Clarity. I started my presentation, standard stuff, test scores, engagement metrics, new teaching methods. 20 minutes in, I opened the floor for questions. Danilo stood up. I have a question about funding for after-school programs. We're discussing math curriculum, not funding. But funding affects curriculum. Ask your question. How do we ensure charitable donations are used appropriately, especially when family members manage the funds? The room went very quiet. I smiled. That's an excellent question. Let me address it. I clicked to a new slide. The projector showed a bank statement, my wife's charitable fund, withdrawals highlighted. These are examples of inappropriate fund management. Withdrawals labeled as educational expenses, actually used for personal events, weddings, honeymoons, furniture. Gasps from the audience. Another slide. The fake email domain. Woi's registration. Alina's name. This is fraud. Someone created a fake email address using a deceased person's identity, used it to authorize withdrawals. Another slide. Vendor invoices, mismatched descriptions. This is theft, plain and simple. Danilo was on his feet. You can't do this. This is slander. This is documentation. Everything here is factual, public record, legally obtained. A school board member stood up. Mr. Moroz, this is highly irregular. So is embezzling from a charitable fund. I think irregular is appropriate. Danilo pushed toward the exit. I nodded to Nazar, who was filming from the back. One more thing, I called out. That bracelet you're wearing, where did you get it? Danilo stopped, looked at his wrist. It was a gift, he said. From whom? My mother. No, it wasn't. My wife left me that bracelet. It was in her jewelry box in my apartment. You stole it. That's a lie. Dr. Hrabovich, stand up, please. Yuri stood from his seat near the middle. Doctor, you were with my wife when she bought that bracelet. Correct? Correct. Do you remember who she bought it for? Yes. For you, Sasha. She told me it was an anniversary present. Do you have any documentation? I have the original gift receipt. She gave it to me for safekeeping. He walked forward, handed me an envelope. I opened it, showed the receipt to the room. Camera projected it on the screen. To Sasha, with all my love. Lena. Dated. Signed by the jeweler. I looked at Danilo. Take off the bracelet. No. Take it off or I file a police report for theft right now, in front of everyone. His hands shook. He unclasped the bracelet, set it on a table. I picked it up, held it carefully. Leave, I said. Now. He left. The room erupted in conversation. I turned off the projector, gathered my materials. A school board member approached. We need to discuss this officially. Schedule a meeting. I'll bring all my evidence. This is a serious situation. Yes, it is. Which is why I'm handling it seriously. I left through the side door. Oksana was waiting. That was theatrical, she said. That was necessary. Where to now? Home. I'm done for tonight. We walked to my car. Got in. Before I could start the engine, Oksana's phone buzzed. She checked it. It's Bellier. Says he has more dashcam footage. From yesterday. Your apartment building again. Send me the files. She did. I opened them on my phone. The footage showed Danilo trying to enter the building. Multiple times, different doors. He couldn't get in. The locks had been changed. He's desperate, Oksana said. Good. Desperation leads to mistakes. 3 nights later, Bodan called at midnight. Someone's in the building, he said. Ground floor storage area. I heard banging. Call the police. Already did. But I thought you should know. It might be your son. I got dressed, went downstairs. The police arrived 5 minutes later. 2 officers, young, professional. We approached the storage area together. The door was open, lock forced. Inside, Danilo, surrounded by boxes. My boxes. From my storage unit. He was going through papers, frantically, looking for something. Step back, one officer said, hands visible. Danilo raised his hands, saw me in the doorway. Dad, tell them this is a misunderstanding. It's not. He broke in. He's going through my property without permission. You're my father. I have a right. You have no rights here. This is breaking and entering. The officers arrested him, read him his rights, took him away in cuffs. I stood in the storage area looking at the mess. Boxes overturned, papers scattered. He'd been searching for the original ledger. I found it still tucked inside a false bottom in one of the bins, where I'd moved it days ago. Bowden helped me clean up. We worked in silence, restacked boxes, organized papers. You knew he'd come, Bowden said. I calculated the probability was high. You set him up. I gave him opportunity to make a choice. He chose poorly. That's cold. That's chess. The police called the next morning. Danilo had been released on his own recognizance. Charges pending. Court date in 3 weeks. I didn't visit him, didn't call, just added the police report to my evidence file. Katya called that afternoon. He got arrested, because of you. Because of him, I didn't force him to break into the storage area. You're destroying him. No, I'm letting him destroy himself. There's a difference. What do you want? An apology? Money back? What will make you stop? Truth, accountability, consequences, in that order. He can't survive this. His company's losing clients. Alina's firm fired her. They're being blacklisted everywhere. Good. You're heartless. I'm accurate. There's a difference. She hung up. I went back to work, taught my classes, graded papers, maintained routine. The school board meeting was tomorrow. Time to present everything officially. The school board met in a conference room on the 3rd floor. Long table, uncomfortable chairs, 5 board members plus the superintendent. I brought Oksana as a witness and Nazar to document the meeting. The board didn't object. They knew this was serious. I presented for 40 minutes. Every document, every transaction, every lie. The fake domain registration, the vendor fraud, the ledger photos, the blackmail of Principal Klimenko. The board members took notes, asked clarifying questions, requested copies of everything. At the end, the board chair looked at me. What do you want us to do? Accept Klimenko's resignation without pension penalties. He was coerced. Then implement controls to prevent this from happening again. Separate oversight for any school-related charitable funds, third-party audits, public reporting. And your son? My son is facing criminal charges. That's separate from your responsibility. What about restitution? I'm handling that privately. The superintendent spoke up. This is a nightmare for the school's reputation. It's a nightmare you need to address transparently, not hide. Address it. Show parents you take this seriously. And if we don't, then I go to the media, every news outlet in the city. Let them cover it. Your choice. The board voted unanimously to implement my recommendations, accepted Klimenko's resignation, agreed to public accountability measures. I left with copies of their resolution. Official. Binding. One more piece falling into place. I spent the next week compiling everything into a comprehensive dossier. 140 pages. Every document, every photo, every transaction, annotated, cross-referenced, timeline included. I made digital copies, encrypted, backed up in multiple locations. Then I made physical copies. 3 sets, spiral-bound. 1 set went to the Charitable Fund's board of directors. with a cover letter detailing the theft and requesting formal investigation. One set went to the donors, all 37 of them, with personal letters explaining what happened and offering full reimbursement from my own funds if necessary. One set went to my lawyer for safekeeping and potential legal proceedings. Then I created a public version, redacted to protect privacy where necessary, but still comprehensive, still damning. I uploaded it to a private server, generated a shareable link, drafted an email, recipients, the venue where the wedding happened, the vendors who'd been defrauded, the school community, local business associations. Subject line, documentation of charitable fund fraud, full evidence. Body, attached is complete documentation of fraud committed against a charitable fund established to help palliative care patients. All evidence obtained legally. All parties identified. Criminal charges pending. Please share within your professional networks to prevent future fraud. My finger hovered over the send button. This was the point of no return. Once I sent this, Danilo and Alina would be effectively blacklisted. No business would work with them. No venue would host them. Their professional lives would end. I thought about my wife, about her kindness, her faith in redemption. I clicked send. The responses started within an hour. Shock, anger, gratitude, support. The venue sent a formal letter banning Danilo and Alina from their property. Other venues in the city followed. A professional association revoked Alina's membership. Vendors began filing civil claims, small amounts, but collectively significant. No criminal charges against them from the vendors, just financial consequences, reputation destruction, math. I was in my classroom grading papers when security called. There's someone on the roof, above the gym, looks like your son. I went up, fire escape, old metal stairs. Danilo was standing near the edge, not dangerously close, but close enough to worry me. "What are you doing up here?" I asked. He turned. His face was hollow. He'd lost weight, wasn't sleeping. "Trying to figure out what's left," he said. "Of what?" "Of anything. Alina left me, moved back to her parents, won't answer my calls. I can't get work, can't pay rent. Everything's gone." "You did this to yourself." "No, you did this to me. I documented what you did. You made the choices that led here. I needed the money, for the wedding, for our life. You don't understand the pressure. I thought I'd pay it back. Eventually." "When? After how many more withdrawals?" He didn't answer. "You used your mother's memory as cover for theft. You faked your grandfather's identity. You blackmailed a school principal. You stole from me. You planned to humiliate me publicly. And you thought there wouldn't be consequences. I thought you'd understand. I thought family meant something. Family means everything. That's why this hurts so much. That's why I can't let it go." He stepped closer, anger flashing in his eyes. "Give me the keys to the apartment." "No. It's half mine. Mum wanted you to take care of her charitable fund. You stole from it instead. You don't get to invoke her wishes now." He shoved me, hard. I stumbled backward, caught myself on the doorframe. He came at me again. This time I was ready. I grabbed his wrist, twisted. Teacher's hold. Break up 100 schoolyard fights and you learn how to redirect aggression without causing injury. He gasped, tried to pull away. I held firm. "You're 56, he said through gritted teeth. "You're old. I'm experienced. Different thing." I released him. He backed toward the edge. Not dangerously, just trying to create space. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Nothing. That's the point. I wanted a son who honored his mother's memory, who helped people instead of stealing from them, who had integrity, but I don't have that son, so I don't want anything from you." "That's it? You're just done?" "I've been done since the wedding. Everything since then has just been documentation." "You're a bastard. I'm a math teacher. I solve problems. You are the problem. He turned away, looked out over the city. What happens now? You face the criminal charges. You pay back what you stole. You rebuild your life from scratch. You learn that actions have consequences. And us, our relationship. There is no relationship. You stole from your mother's memory. You used your grandfather's name for fraud. You tried to take my home. He flinched like I'd hit him. Go home, I said. Whatever counts as home now, and don't come back. He left, footsteps echoing down the fire escape. I stood on the roof alone. The wind was cold. The city lights spread out below like a mathematical grid. Patterns, variables, outcomes. My phone buzzed, text from Oksana. You okay? Yes. Need company? No, just need to finish this. Tomorrow, one final step. Then the equation would be balanced. Danilo showed up at my apartment the next afternoon. I saw him through the peephole. He looked terrible, hadn't shaved, clothes wrinkled. Alina was with him, and Katya, all three of them. I opened the door but left the chain on. What do you want? To talk, Katya said. Please, Dad, just 5 minutes. You have 3. Danilo stepped forward. We'll pay everything back, every penny. We'll get loans. We'll sell everything we own. We'll make it right. How long will that take? I don't know. A year? 2? The fund needs the money now. Patients need it now. We'll work something out. Payment plans. Installments. Not good enough. Alina spoke up. What do you want? Just tell us. What will make this end? This ends when the money is returned, when every donor is reimbursed, when you've completed 1 year of community service at a palliative care facility, documented, verified, all 3 of you. Community service? Danilo asked. 1 year, full-time, helping the people your mother dedicated the fund to help. You'll see what you stole from them. You'll understand the harm you caused. And then what? Then you each get 10,000. That's your inheritance, nothing more. What about the apartment? Goes to a scholarship fund when I die. You get nothing. You can't do that. I already did. New will. Filed and notarized. You're not beneficiaries anymore. Katya was crying. Dad, please. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't plan public humiliation. You stopped being family when you made those choices. Alina's voice went sharp. We need those keys. We need the apartment. We have a right. You have no rights here. None. The apartment is mine. The inheritance is mine to direct. You get what I decide to give you, which is nothing. I pulled the apartment keys from my pocket, held them up. All 3 of them stared. These keys? I asked. The ones you've been demanding? The ones you tried to steal? Alina reached for them. Give them to us. I stepped back, into the hallway, toward the stairwell. You really want them? Yes, Danilo said. Then go get them. I opened my hand. The keys fell, tumbled through the air, hit the first step, bounced. Clattered down the stairwell. 4 flights, metal on concrete, the sound echoing through the building. Into darkness, into the basement level, where the keys landed somewhere in the shadows, and trash, and forgotten things. There, I said. They're all yours now. Go dig them out. I stepped back into my apartment, closed the door, locked it, chain, the new lock Bodan had installed. Outside, I heard shouting, crying, footsteps running down the stairs. I walked to my kitchen, made tea, sat at the table, opened my laptop, checked my email. The Charitable Funds Board had approved full restitution. Donors were being contacted. Patients would receive their medication money. The school had implemented new oversight procedures, public accountability, third-party audits. The vendors had been compensated. Civil claims settled. Danilo's criminal case was proceeding. Probation likely. Community service. Restitution order. Everything was documented. Everything was filed. Everything was complete. The equation was balanced. I closed my laptop, drank my tea, looked around my apartment, my home, my sanctuary, my memories, all of it intact, all of it mine, all of it protected. I picked up my wife's bracelet from the table. The silver links caught the light. The sapphire clasp gleamed. I held it carefully, like it might break. Then I put it in my pocket and went back to grading papers. The problem was solved. The variables were balanced. The math was complete.